I'm India Brown,
And I'm Sydney Wilson.
and we are two Southern gals making it in the big city world where we both work on a Broadway show.
And this is our podcast, Social Cues, a show where we put away our show scripts and stage blocking.
And have real conversations about how it feels being professional performers in a lucrative industry.
One topic at a time.
Hey y'all, welcome
Hey,
back.
welcome to Social Cues. I'm Sydney.
I'm India, and we are here for another episode.
Another episode. This is the fifth, I think.
I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So welcome
I'm losing
back.
track. There's so many.
I know. We're having so much fun. It's so hot outside.
Girl,
It's,
what?
Yeah.
But we're bringing in the sun,
Yeah,
honey.
Summer colors.
Summertime fine.
Yeah.
We're so in sync now. Oh my
We
God.
we
like,
really
totally
are.
go
Like I
together.
show up and I'm like, oh okay, we both like I didn't even tell her that I'm wearing this and I'm like, oh yellow or okay, great. We're on the same page.
Yay.
So yeah.
How's your day?
It's good. It was good. It was slow. I'm like back in the show, so it's like getting used to that and putting together like some routines and stuff that I have, just like trying to keep myself busy, stay motivated.
Yeah, you were
So
telling
I'm
me
trying
about the
to-
gym, honey. You
Oh my
really
gosh,
overdid it.
my legs are like, even I've never experienced that. Like I'll go to the gym and I'll be really sore the next day, but I've never experienced like same day, like I get done with my and I can't like walk down the stairs. Like I was
Ooh.
my legs were literally like jello. I was like,
Jelly.
okay, and now I gotta go do my 2 shows. I was struggling, but
Good luck.
yeah.
Aw,
So yeah, that's what I've been up to. How's your day?
good.
Yeah.
Slow, like you said. Like I just been feeling really tired. So.
Chill.
You know,
yeah.
just the regular chores, but like,
Yeah.
usually I'll get up and take my daughter to daycare and I'll just be up. But I went back to sleep, child. I was asleep for
Yeah.
the day. So
The outfit is giving. It's giving like around the house cute, like Daisy
Oh,
Dukes.
yeah,
It's
thanks. Daisy Dukes. That girl with the Daisy Dukes song.
giving- yes, all
I
of our
love it. That's so
sayings.
southern.
Yeah,
That's a
all
thing to say.
the southern stuff like we say, like, and I know like people. I didn't realize it until people I got close to started being like, "What are you talking about?" Like,
Right.
and I was like, oh, like that's a trip or whatever you say, and they're like,
Right.
what are you talking about? I'm like,
Like
a trip,
a
like
trip?
right, like,
a
and then you have to break it
vacation?
down in your head, like,
Right, and then you
what
realize,
does
like,
it
what
mean,
does it
right? Yeah, that one thing my grandma used to say, when we were younger, like we would swim and stuff and we would get dark, like especially the back of our neck. Like my
Uh-huh.
brother, the back of his neck would literally be like, he's my complexion, like but
Uh-huh,
his
uh-huh.
neck would be like your complexion.
Okay.
And she'd be like, yo, you are black as an ace of spades. And we're like, what? Like, why did you have to compare it to that of all things?
like of all things.
Yeah, like black as an ace of spades.
And what's
I'm trying to
another one,
think.
child?
I don't know. What do you have any?
So, the one that that kind of stand out to me, and actually I was reminded of it because I had a bunch of family come in like a couple of weeks ago, like
Mm.
my aunt, my cousins, my dad, my brother. They came in back to back straight out of Georgia, and so one day my cousin was like, "Well, it's okay. You ain't got to really come and show us around because I know you be ripping and running."
Oh my gosh. Yes. I say that all the time.
Oh, honey, that is a
Ripping
classic
and
Southern
running.
thing.
Yeah.
Ripping and running, meaning
Yeah.
like to move around a lot or to
Yeah,
like
just be
busy
busy all
Yeah.
day. Like
Yeah.
just errands back and forth. I've just been ripping and running.
Right.
But it's
What's
it
what you
fills
told me
up
you
the time.
said with you was talking to your mom?
Oh, that was I've never heard the tell us such. When like
that's a good one
when
for
you
me.
when you talk to somebody and you're like they're telling you about something new you never heard of it or I never heard the tell us such. Like it's like that
I never heard the tale of such.
that is country.
Live.
That is Virginia.
Come on.
Yeah.
Okay, so another one, and it's mostly I've only heard it from like my dad or like uncles or like male cousins,
hmm
but they'll greet you by like, "Oh, what's up, shawty? What you know good?"
Right. I don't see why it's mostly men, I guess.
I know.
I don't know what
I
that's
don't know.
about.
I don't know why it's just
That's
men.
cute.
But
though.
basically just asking like what's new, what's
Yeah,
going
what's
on.
up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up? Maybe I don't know, because I don't know. I have
Why
no
would it
idea
just
why
be
most
men?
women
Yeah.
you rarely hear women say what you know good. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And then we
I
be
don't know.
like, I guess speaking of men, and if I have to go with women, what women mostly say. So our term of endearment to like, like a sweetheart or
Mhm.
something is like, "Oh, boo, hey, boo, how you
Oh,
doing?"
boo. Yeah, that's cute too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because like some of them we know together and some of them are
Mhm.
like very specific.
But
to
did
the
y'all
groups.
used to say "bless your heart" too? Like, oh,
No, like,
bless your
well, where I'm
heart.
from, I feel like it's not really south. Like, we have some southern, because that's, I feel like, where my, like, family is
Mhm.
from. But, like, where we live now, like, people don't really say,
Never
like,
say
it's
that.
not that, like, southern,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
but
I
I know
really
of it.
had
I've
to-
heard it, like, probably, like, more so church family or, like,
Gotcha.
in, like, that type of realm. But,
Yeah.
like, family is not like, oh,
Yeah, yeah,
bless your
yeah.
heart. Like, that
I
is
definitely
real
hurt somebody's
southern.
spirit by explaining what it really means.
I know. And it's
So most people think it's like a nice
Genuine.
thing to say or genuine thing to say when it's like, no, girl, they feel
Bless her
sorry for
Right,
you. Like,
or-
oh, bless her heart.
yeah.
You know, they're pitying you, basically. Is
Right,
what that is.
right.
So, come on, give it up for the
Yeah,
southern phrases.
yeah.
Y'all share if you have
If
any
you
southern
have-
phrases.
Yes.
Or some that we missed, or if y'all can relate, you know exactly what we're talking about. Y'all write some stuff down below. We wanna
Yeah.
hear from you guys.
Yeah, because I know there's probably so many different sayings.
So
that
many.
we don't know.
I know. And even like the different states, the southern states, I'm sure we
Right.
all have our own different things.
Right.
Like I was mentioning too, buku, like buku money, meaning lots of.
Right.
That's out of like New Orleans or like Louisiana area.
Mhm.
So I actually picked that up from a friend who's from, she was from Texas, actually, Beaumont, Texas. But they used to say buku all the
Buku.
time. And I'm like, what is
I've
buku?
heard that too, like
Yeah.
buku money, like
Yeah.
they just got crazy amount of
Yeah,
money, like they
yeah.
just rich, like yeah.
Yeah,
So
like we
I
didn't
think
really
it's-
say that, but
Yeah, it's from all like anywhere, honestly. If you have like sayings or something cute or cool, because I know there's like so many different, like Baltimore. I think of like they just have different, like the DMV has their cultures, like we
Yeah.
have the South, but then like West Coast has their own stuff, up
Right,
North has their own
right,
stuff.
right.
I'm interested in like
so cool.
the black experience throughout like the whole country. That would be cool.
Yeah, that
So,
would be a cool little research
Yeah.
project.
So let us know.
So what are we talking about today, girl?
Today's topic is returning to Broadway post pandemic.
Yes.
And returning to the industry post pandemic, which
Ooh,
is
child.
it's
Can you believe we lived through a pandemic?
I can't.
It's still to this day, I'm like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah.
I heard it on a movie just like 2 nights ago when they were saying, they said something like shelter in place. They used that phrase. And I was like, I said it to my husband. I'm like, can you believe we actually now know what that means?
Yeah.
It's used on us
Yeah.
to shelter in place.
We did.
It's so wow.
It's crazy.
yeah.
And I think since I was living in Virginia, like I wasn't on Broadway yet, which is like we'll get into it, but
Mhm.
like it felt so different. Like it doesn't feel, I think, as poignant, especially because thank God, like I didn't have any family pass from it or
Yeah.
anything. Like it wasn't made like super, super, it didn't really hit super, super close to home until I saw what was happening like around the world. But in my area, it was kind of desolate, but it was already it's already a little slower and quieter or whatever.
Mhm.
But when I hear y'all talk about, or people be like, even like it is crazy that there was nobody in Times Square. Like now to think about that, I can't
It's
even imagine
unbelievable.
what that would look like the
Yeah.
way it's so busy and full. Like to understand what it is to be in such a metropolis, like such a heavily populated area,
Mhm.
and it just be at a standstill. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy to think about because of how busy and how we talked about even the first episode, like
Yeah.
how much of a culture shock and how New York is just so like to see it slow
It
down.
literally never sleeps. It's truly a city that never sleeps. And
Right.
it slept during
That
the pandemic,
for a year,
I think.
yeah, for like 2 years, which
Yeah.
is wild.
Yeah, that is wild.
So yeah, tell me about like what it was like.
So
I feel like coming to a halt because that's very
girl,
different.
it's starking. But I'm gonna start just for reference, just so we can keep everyone in the now. I mean, I don't know, not no person on this planet that
Who doesn't know?
quite
right?
know what we went through
Right.
because you all went through it.
Right.
But just to reference, because maybe it'll stand the test of time, honey. Maybe our
Yeah.
great grandchildren will be
We're
listening
listening
to us.
the podcast.
So the World Health Organization, and I'm getting this off of Google. It looks like it is from the www.ncbi.nlm.nih.gov. So that is the official World Health Organization website that I'm referencing. To say the World Health Organization, also known as WHO, on March 11, 2020, declared the novel coronavirus, which is also known as COVID-19, an outbreak of a global pandemic. And so at this point, it's so funny. I actually wasn't at work the day that Broadway shut down. I think if I can remember, and anybody who's listening, please correct me. I could really be wrong. But on March 12th is when Broadway shut down.
Yeah.
And we were hearing a little bit of a buzz that week because I think coronavirus was kind of looming the fall before. Like I remember a lot of people who were getting the flu, but they were just getting a little extra sick, and
Mhm.
it just seemed a little harsher on the
Mhm.
body. So at that point, no one quite knew what it was, but a lot of people were saying like this, this is a little bit more extreme than the
Yeah.
flu. So by the time March came around, there was a little bit of a buzz around like something going on. And so we all were like, girl, please, I wish Broadway would shut down. That'll be the day. All this stuff. We just never imagined that Broadway would shut down.
Yeah.
And so it shut down March 12th, 2020. I was out because I was actually pregnant at the time.
Oh my God.
So I went through an entire pregnancy and I gave birth during a global pandemic shutdown. So that was really interesting. But yeah, I remember instantly feeling like, okay, so we shut down. So what, a week goes by? Okay, we'll be back. Oh, 2 weeks? Okay, we'll go back. And then like the days just kept rolling and rolling and rolling. It's like, oh, okay. So it doesn't seem like we're getting back here.
Right.
What are we going to do?
Right.
And then now mind you, this was an 18-month long stint. So, in the beginning it was fun. You go through all these phases.
Mhm.
Oh, yes, we're off work. I'm resting, blah, blah, blah. We're playing. We're doing all the things. We're not taking this pandemic seriously in the very beginning. But nobody's outside. So
right. It's also like, even though it's time off, it's not time off to play. Like, no,
right,
you can't leave.
Right.
So
you couldn't
inside.
leave home. So we had to get creative. So, I'm doing puzzles and we're watching a whole bunch of movies and cooking more and chatting and playing all these board games. So in the beginning it was really cool. It was really fun. I don't even know at what point it got so real for me. It was like, Jesus Christ, are we going back? Like, do I have a job? Because they furloughed us. So I was on unemployment. Okay. And then now I don't know to this day. I was fortunate. I always joke and say, like, honey, Jesus is on my main line because I was fortunate enough. I did not lose my health care insurance. Thank God. Yeah. Maybe because I had already declared to the insurance company that I was pregnant. Yeah. But just about all of my fellow castmates did. Wow. And so, with us being so isolated, I didn't realize how real that was until we came back. And a lot of people, like, some people were actually expressing their frustration and their fears and stuff on social media. So a lot of people were really going through hard times, crying and, in despair, not understanding like what's the next thing, like, how long this is going to be. So it just was a whirlwind of emotions and feelings and things going on. I called it a silver lining for me. I don't want to just say that loosely. I don't want to discredit anyone else's experience. I'm kind of like you. It didn't hit too close to home for me. The only thing that was hard for me was I wasn't able to have a baby shower. I didn't get to see any of my family. Mostly all of my family's in Georgia. Nobody was able to come up. At that time, the biggest fear for me was giving birth and what that looked like. Because at the time, they were telling me I would have to be in the delivery room by myself. And this is my first pregnancy. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, absolutely not. But fortunately enough, by the time I had my baby, it was in the summer, they had lifted some of those restrictions. Right. So I unfortunately couldn't use the doula that I had made a contract with, but my husband was able to be with me. But I also remember, and let's not even forget, this was like a social uproar, like an uprising that none of us had really experienced before, with all of the people rioting and out in the streets marching and the murder. And at the same time, parallel to that, they were sharing the stories of like how all of these Black mothers had died at the hands of doctors giving birth. And there was a specific story here in Brooklyn with a young lady who was pregnant, and she died at the birth of her child. Now, this was in the springtime, right before I was about to give birth. So I was fixated on that heavily, like terrified. Yeah. And then, mind you, we're in New York City, where it felt like the epicenter of where Governor Cuomo actually took the reins and really opened up the city to provide facilities for people to get treated. So he pulled in the ships, and then he opened up like the big convention center, and like all the hospitals were like maxed out. And then every night at 7 o'clock, I want to say, they would like ring cowbells and ring bells and shout and cheer out of celebration and appreciation for the nurses. So I feel like, although New York City was, as you mentioned before, like with Times Square being completely empty, you heard a lot of the community showing up for like the nurses and the healthcare staff, just out of appreciation at a certain hour of the day. Like people just scream out of their windows.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was still very lively in a sense, because people got very creative. I also heard stories of people who lived in apartment buildings, the uprises, where how like you have a window and it faces another apartment window across the way, where they would host concerts every night, and where they people would sing out of their window, or they would play music. So one thing about New York City, it certainly is a city that never rests, and it's a city filled with a bunch of creative people. Where to the point where our light didn't dim. Like it was still very much very lively. But yeah. So that was the gist of my pandemic, shutdown experience. What was yours?
Oh my gosh, mine was, I was still in school. I was in my junior year of college, and I had just come off of actually a trip that January, because I remember a friend was sick, and he had asthma, and he was like, this is just different. Like he was really down and out, and we were just like, oh gosh, that's so weird. And so we had been scheduled to do a show, and so how it works is like certain shows, you have 3 shows. So you have one in the fall, you have a winter term, because we had what we call J term, which is our January, so you can take the semester off or you can do something else.
Okay.
And then we have another show, and so we were preparing for the other one. When we got back in January, I went and studied abroad in Ghana.
Nice.
And that was like one of my big goals for school, and so I was able to do that. Amazing. And it was beautiful. It was incredible. I studied traditional dance and culture, and it was so beautiful. And I will talk about that another time.
We have to talk about that another time.
We need to talk about
incredible.
Yeah, traveling and culture and all that. So that was great, and I was living, and I was ready to be back because I had studied abroad, and I was just excited, and I got kind of away, so I was ready to get back in the grind of like school. So I come back, we start rehearsing, and slowly the talks start coming up about what was happening in China, and everybody's like, oh, okay. And then I remember I was in a dance class, I was in a studio, our dance for the musical theater class, and we hadn't even started class, and our teacher wasn't even there, I don't think. And somebody had their phone, and they were like, we're off for 2 weeks. Like people had been talking like they're gonna get like give us time off.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, I don't know. And then as soon as the email hit, somebody was like, we have to, and everybody's like, oh my God, what? So we like go to our emails, and it was 2 weeks off. I was like,
it's like,
dang.
Can you feel it?
Right. Like people were happy, and I was like, I don't, please don't make me go home. Like I'm feeling good. Like I'm in my, my bag. Yeah. Like I had just traveled. Like I was feeling very inspired, and we were putting on another production. I also had already auditioned, I think in early February, for a summer stock job, and I had only done one other one before, so that was going to be my second job, and I was going to be playing one of my dream roles, which is Sarah from Ragtime.
Yay.
At the Forestburg Playhouse, and I didn't end up getting to do that because as things started to shut down, like after those 2 weeks, like you said, people started to see that things were not happening, and it was safer just to not. And so I went home, and it ended up being really, really beautiful. I was glad because I spent more time with my family. Like I said, like it was kind of slow, but we were just doing new things. Like we were just doing all types. Like I was in the puzzle. I was actually in my coloring like bag. Like they were saying like coloring was good for anxiety. So like those adult like coloring books I got. And
they're intricate, right?
Yeah, I didn't use that method. I was like, okay, I don't know what I thought. I was buying all these arts, like thinking I was doing crafts. No, I wasn't doing that. But I was like, I was home, and we ended up doing so like little stuff that is so fun. Like we would, I bought like a few plants. Like I was doing a lot of cooking. So I bought like spearmint, and I bought like peppermint and cilantro, and we would cook and make tacos, and I would go out and like really like garden like, and pick my
from your garden.
Yes. Like I was really in my like homemaker like moment, and I was loving it. Like I was really getting fit. I was doing things like for my mental, because at first I was really not doing well. And I ended up, both of my parents were essential workers. My dad had it actually at the very beginning, and he had to stay home. But then he went back. He works at the bank, so he went back. My mom is a physical therapist, and she works with patients, and so she was back at work. And we were just kind of at home. I was still doing classes kind of, but I would do stuff like I would like take a bike ride like between classes and stuff around the neighborhood and like just try to take class outside or like film. Like if I had like a dance assignment, like I would just film it like in the backyard so that I just wasn't like in the house, like, doing these dances and trying to, like it just was so strange.
So you guys had a yard.
Yeah, we have a nice yard.
Nice.
So that was good. So at the beginning, like we finished, but we just did everything virtually. Then things started to clear up. I was an RA, so I was getting paid. So to miss that, like I still wanted my check. So I ended up getting a job. I was working at Chipotle.
Wait a minute. In the beginning of this like shutdown, you guys were out and about? Like you were at work?
No. This is at the beginning of the pandemic. I was doing my virtual classes. Like we did that. So then things were down, things were out. And then I think like into the second year, I feel like more so. It was into the summer, I think.
Got it.
I don't know the exact days. I have to look back. But at some point, stuff started opening back up a little bit.
Okay.
And we were still wearing masks because it was still very much like COVID. But as things opened up, my mom was like, you should try to find a job because you can't just sit around like there's no school, but like you have to find something.
Yeah.
So I was working because I think they considered like certain food area. Like it was no social things, but it was certain like food, like restaurants and stuff like that. Not like eating out, but they were doing a lot of to go. So our inside, that's what it was. So it was summer after my semester had ended, but it was only to go orders. So the inside was closed. Nobody could come and sit down. You could just come pick up. Right. So I was just like the cashier. Just people could come in and order, but they just had to leave. There was no seating. Got it. And so I was working there. I was like, and that really, I was over that because I was just, I wanted to be like performing again. And I missed that. So I was like,
there was definitely
I'm working this food service. Like, I hate this.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so that's what it was like for me. And I ended up finishing that job. We got the notice that we would be able to return with a ton of COVID. Like even when I went back to school, like no dining halls, like everything was to go. They had all these like eco-friendly like tools. It was so strange. Like everybody was wearing masks everywhere. We were still doing hybrid classes, like, or some were still fully virtual. Some, if you lived on campus, sometimes it was like a Tuesday, Thursday class. You would just go in on Tuesday and Thursday would be virtual. Like it was just so many different ways of making stuff happen. And it was so strange. So that was what it was like in school.
Woo, child.
Yeah. Okay. So
low key, your quarantine has sounded really.
Yeah. No, it wasn't like, and that's a hard thing is like it wasn't that bad. I mean, I went through a period where I was really unhappy because I was working at Chipotle and I just was like, I'm not trying to be doing this. Like, and I missed my friends and like we were just waiting to get back, but we really made the most of it. Like I have a beautiful home, it's spacious. Like I wasn't cooped up,
Yeah.
And then like,
did you ever take advantage of like the Zoom outside of school? Like did you have like Zoom parties with your friends and stuff?
Yeah, like my friends who I couldn't see, like we were Zoom, like we would do we did a lot of teleparty, which is that where you can watch movies and stuff together. So we'd always do like movie nights. I was doing a ton of like I said, cooking, and we were just trying new stuff. Like my mom had never really been to Trader Joe's, so we like rode out. Yeah, and the one from our house is like 45 minutes. So we're not like, they just go to Walmart. Like we're not. But then all we had was time. So she was like, you want to ride out, and it wasn't so congested, I think. So you could still go to the store. It just was like a line, and they only let like maybe 20 people in at a time, and then you end up going. But there was no like leisure. But I had my little pod. I was dating somebody at the time, so once things kind of like ended up settling, then we kind of included ourselves into that pod, and we would hang out and go. I mean, not go out, but I would go over there. He would, kind of break the monotony or whatever.
Low-key, there was a moment where I was straight up jealous of all people in the South, all people in the West.
I know.
Anybody with the big old house,
they have space.
They had outdoor yards and space, and we were at the time in this 2-bedroom apartment.
Oh,
and we did have like it was a not even really considered a courtyard, but I would call it a courtyard because it was like a pocket of open space, but there was no access to it. So There was a house next to our like apartment complex, but they would play their music so loud every night, and it was like Spanish hip hop. So I would even be jealous of them. Like, look at them over there having a good time in their own backyard with their little pod,
and you inside
cooped
pregnant
up in the house looking at walls.
No, mine. I think because I was at home, mine definitely was cute. Like I was, I was hanging out. I was working, but then once that job was kind of over and I was doing my own thing, like I was kind of. I mean, I wasn't going out, obviously being safe, but like. And just like my immediate family, and then the person I was seeing, but I was kind of living like I was like I'm off, and it wasn't like I was still at home, so I was going home for the summer, so it wasn't like how I am now, like I have to work, and like I was a student, so I was like, well, I'm kicking. This is like my high school summers, like when I just come home and I'm just kind of working here and there a few hours, but I'm not like working to the bone to pay my rent, right? So it was I never really got stir crazy with that solid group, but with the cooking and all type. I was baking and I would do crazy stuff. Like I would just see recipes and just like get up like 10 o'clock at night and just bake a cake.
So that's how your creativity reinvented itself. Yeah. So I definitely had a moment like that as well. Like shortly after I had my baby, I created a YouTube channel. It's called Two Loves and Like. Where I would review different baby items or products, and I would just kind of share with people like what were my favorites versus something that wasn't so nice. But I delved into that because there was nothing else to do.
Oh, so that's when that was born.
Yeah, it was born out of the shutdown.
Yeah, I remember that period too, like where I love to sing, and I am a performer, so I know like if I've been out of the show for too long, like I'll just be singing all these songs, and I'm like, I need to get back in the show or something because I'm singing. But I remember being like, now everybody want to be a recording artist, everybody posting their song, every cover, and I did like a cover too. But I was like, I'm not about to be out here just sing. I have to do something else. Like I can't just like sing song. Like I love the arts. I love to sing, but I do also love food, and I found like I really love to cook, and I'm good at cooking. So everybody was like, ooh, can you make that? Can you make this and that? I'm like, Lord, I'm the house chef, but I had no problem. Like, I loved it.
That is so dope.
Yeah.
That was the beautiful part of the pandemic. You really saw everyone get creative and become artists in some form or fashion, like as a world. Like, that was really cool to see.
Yeah.
And it made me realize how important the arts are, because I automatically thought about how they start to remove the funding from schools that are geared towards arts and literature.
First,
and I'm like, you really shouldn't, because by nature, we as humans, we are drawn to creative, artistic things. So if anything, the only thing you really should be pouring into is something creative, something artistic. And if we didn't learn anything from the pandemic, it was definitely that. Like, we need entertainment. We need artistry. We need that beautiful side of life to survive. Like, I honestly think that's what kind of pulled us through.
Together, yeah.
Because, honey, we watched all the TV. We watched
binging
all
that Tiger
the online
King
concerts.
stuff, and everybody watching that, and then all the Netflix. Yeah, it was insane. And then, like, watching the shows, too, after, and, like, COVID, like, how they were filming, but they have masks, but they like those SVU, like I was watching SVU the other day, and I was like, this was during COVID, like they're wearing masks like in the hospital because like they had to wear masks, so they just worked it into the show. Like it was wild,
crazy.
But that kind of bleeds into us and like what happens with the show, because like when I returned, like obviously you hadn't done it before either, but like COVID testing every day, submitting in the portal, like you test yourself.
Oh, it showed up. It just looked so different when we came back.
So crazy. Having a whole, we had a whole room for just our COVID team, and we were, our test at the beginning, I think they did, but then eventually we moved to self-administered.
And that was we went from a spit test to the nose swab.
To a nasal swab, and then everything, like as it kind of progressed, and then when things would rev up again, or if we had high cases, or like if a large number or large volume, whether it was crew or otherwise, like then we go bump up to like, well, we now have to go in, or we were doing like, we bumped down to like 2 days a week, and then if it's bad, then we go back to testing every day. And if you feel something, well, just don't show up, because you don't really know, and then somebody feeling sick, you end up, or like the first case we ever got,
it was one of the ladies in the female female dressing room. And I remember this
my
so
gosh.
vividly.
It was a crazy.
It was
that
so
day
crazy.
was insane.
It was.
Everybody was.
We laugh about it today, but we were so terrified, so fired up that day.
Because I think she came in because it was our dressing room. She was not on she wasn't on our side. She was on the other side.
But here was the part. This is why I'll never forget it, because this was a time when I think it was in between shows, and I usually take a nap, but I'll take a nap on my side.
Right.
But this particular day, there was no room, so I put my mat on the side where she was on the other side. And my head was literally right behind her station.
Oh, my
so
gosh.
I'm knocked out. She comes in. The poor girl. She didn't do anything out the norm that anybody wouldn't do. But she came in with her mask and she had food, so she removed the mask to eat.
Yeah.
And she wasn't feeling well.
Which was like I guess the rule was technically like you come when we weren't doing self-administered and they tested us. It was like, come and get tested and then you can go, but don't you like sometimes you would have to say, and it's like, well, I have to start getting ready
isolate until you get the results.
Right. So then they were like, well, you can go, but just wear your mask if you're in the dressing room.
Yeah.
Not everybody's always following the rules. Yeah. So don't act like you do, because you don't.
Let's not get self-righteous.
Right.
You know you removed your mask.
Right. And there's a lot of stuff that you have to get done before the show. Like
and
you gotta eat. You gotta...
Like she was adamant about keeping the mask on when necessary. She just removed it to eat.
Just to eat really quick. And then we came. Somebody was like, yeah, can I have you outside? And we're all
they
gave
her the 2 fingers.
We literally snapped. We snapped our heads, and then everybody's like, do you know what's going on? Like, and then she came in and asked for 2 more people.
Yeah.
And we were like
around her.
And then those 2 came back and we're just like, and it was like, don't ask, don't tell. Like we were all like, so what's going on? And they were like, we can, And we're like, oh no, she got COVID.
Ain't nobody stupid. She got COVID.
Oh my gosh. So then we go to we went on the stage because they were like, we have our first, case. If anybody has questions and stuff,
ask for
people up in arms.
The show was about to start.
Yeah, we were at the 5-minute call. I don't know why I guess like out of necessity, but I'm not sure what they thought they were going to accomplish in 5 minutes, because we were up there for like 30 minutes and the show was held. Like we were in half costume, half makeup, half not. Like, well, what's going on? People were, well, I don't feel safe. I'm going to leave. Somebody was like, okay, bye.
I just remember someone was like, and India was sleeping unconscious behind her. How is she to know?
But nobody was to know. But I think it was just, sometimes there was a lot of miscommunication, and there was like,
but it's unprecedented. Like, who has the answers? Yeah. Like, we all are just kind of going.
Trying to figure it out.
Right. Trial and error. Try to figure it out as we go.
And that's what I kind of started to feel bad about, because I think people would get so upset with the, COVID safety managers. And it's like, well, they're also hearing from somebody else who's also hearing from somebody else. So
who doesn't know?
Right. And so we have to give nobody has. And even the people who are the closest to it are discovering new things every day.
Yeah.
So I just feel like it was a time where a lot of people were frustrated, but we're trying to give as much grace as possible, because it was hard and it was a stressful job, and it was life or death. Yeah, no, they were, and it was really life or death, and they were nervous. And I know, like, everybody has different experiences, so it's easy for somebody like me who hasn't lost a family member or something to be like, just give them grace, because some people were immunocompromised, and then it comes to
had family members who were vulnerable, and, really had like a risk of being in danger. So yeah, I can agree. I definitely think they had a right to be upset.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like Broadway took it very seriously.
I do too.
I mean, they were on top of it.
Yeah. Anybody in the audience, wave that flash, excuse me.
In their eye.
Right. Like, you want to play around? No, man.
Right.
Because we have the moment in the show where at that point we were coming through, or some people were coming through the audience, and so people were nervous about that. And
we even altered our performance. There are moments when we walk down the aisle and they had to remove that. They had a contingency plan surrounding that. Yeah.
So we did.
We're not going out there.
Right. And that one was walking through, but one is actually going and standing with the audience for a while and then going back on the stage. And it was like, and then when we tried to change that, it was the issue like, well, what if I don't still feel comfortable? Can I wear my mask out there? Like, because some people, and still to this day, like, wear it. But that's there's smoke and the world is burning down. So but masks are still, a thing. And they were providing, like, you would see, we had like masks everywhere. Like, in our dressing room, they were replenished. You grab a couple extra because you got it, the train and home. It was crazy.
Well, I'm landing at giving grace, and I'm
Mm.
thinking that would be a great segue to discuss like what happened when we did or when we returned from the shutdown. So for me, it was back to work as usual. For you, it was a first experience, right?
Right.
I remember we were in the theater, like sitting down where in the orchestra, and that was the big message, like give grace. I remember each one of us had to stand up and say our name, and we just all each gave a little ditty about what we went through and any thoughts that we had surrounding what we had just endured.
Wow.
And
I was not there for
oh,
this.
you weren't there for that.
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the first day was a really beautiful day.
Yeah.
So we did that. And the overall consensus was, which ended up being somewhat of a mantra, was give grace. Because we all had very different experiences. Like, I thank God that we can sit here and be more joyous and fun filled surrounding our experiences. But returning that day, there were a lot of tears because you realize everyone did not have a good experience.
Yeah.
People really endured some things. So I just felt so much more connected, like in a human kind of way, to my cast members. There were a lot of hugs, a lot of tears. And then we moved out into our big lobby, and we started our table read. And that was so unprecedented in itself too, because we're both in a long running show, and we never had although I've been in the show for quite some time, I'm still on the younger side. I never opened the show. So to have this experience where we were kind of starting over, it was really cool.
Yeah.
Like, we were at a table read with all of the principals, all of the producers, all of the creative team, the actual creator and writer herself in the lobby. And when we sang, it was bouncing off the walls so beautifully. I think the news was there, and
that was a viral,
that.
and that's really crazy because before I even auditioned, I saw that
Did
video
you?
And it was circulating. And I remember I didn't repost it, but I watched it and I was like, "Who, Jesus!"
Yeah,
like,
it was
I was tearing
emotional.
up, and she had reposted it, and I was like, "Wow, that's incredible!" And still, it was over my head until I got the audition like months later. But that I was like, "That's really crazy that I just watched this." Like, and I can't even imagine because it was so, I feel like, visceral because our show is already so emotion, and it's just so like grounded and rooted. So to have something like that kind of spring up, or to revisit like the roots of that, and to have it like start to like, it was just, it's already so like, people will cry at the beginning of the show, like just seeing and hearing. So it's like to see and hear that after like a hiatus like that was so like, it was a spiritual experience.
It truly was. Oh my gosh, you pulled it out so beautifully. It was such a spiritual experience. Like, when I tell you, you felt it like coming, like you say, rooting from your toes, just pouring up to your face. Like, it just was a moment that you just can't quite explain. You can't quite put it into words because it just was all feelings.
And the emotions driven so much by missing the art form too. So it's just everybody's like kind of crying.
It was like
and
a
just
recharge. Like, you can literally see how like you see bars
filling up.
and lights.
The bars
you can see it filling up. Like, you can feel it. It was the most incredible feeling ever. And then we ended up starting our rehearsal periods in the studios all together. Like,
which is
like
fun,
we were like pulling up a show for the first time. That had never happened. You either have the dancers in a rehearsal studio by themselves, or the singers, or the principals. Everyone is separated. All the departments are separated. But to have us all in the same room, singing together, moving together, like, girl, it was so magical. Oh my God, it was so magical. I just felt so honored and blessed to have been able to live a moment. I can't even say relive, but live a moment like that. So powerful. So wait, when did you come in?
So I joined a little bit after it hadn't reopened, but the rehearsals had restarted. And then I joined the cast during the tech week right before opening. So it was, everybody had started. I never went in the studio, so I didn't have that. I was like, I really was learning the show by myself.
We were on stage rehearsing.
Right. And they were like, hey, it's Sidney. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
I remember you walked down the aisle and stand. I was like, who who is this girl with this pretty
my
hair,
was
honey?
out.
It was
I did not know that I was
beautiful.
never gonna be able to wear it out, but
Look,
that's neither here nor there.
that
But
was the first thing I noticed on your child.
because
Yeah.
I was like, this is my moment. Like I didn't know what to expect. I'm just coming. I was like, I'm gonna show up like how I exist, you know, and how I live. And but it was so crazy. Like it's so crazy watching, and that's another thing people always ask or are surprised about, that I had never seen the show before I joined. Yeah, and so I got to watch it in tech, which is also really beautiful, and it was just crazy, like watching everything unfold. And I've been so blessed to join at this time, I think too, because I've gotten to celebrate so many milestones and like to see that reinvigoration, and honestly to see the trials and tribulations that come with it too. Like it's not just mounting a show, but there's some things that happen, and like you said, like you really have to give grace because everybody's dealing with something different, and every day is different. And it's not even just us as the cast, or you think, oh, it's Caddy, it's Divas. Like it's also within creative teams and within, you know, other facets, crew, and there's everybody had an experience. And I feel like that's one thing too that really like can be humbling if you allow it to, is that you really start to see everybody or you start to see everybody a little bit deeper. You start like, maybe, I don't know if anybody else had experiences, but I feel like at one point, you know, before that, possibly it could have been a situation where you might not have known people as well, or you might not have, you know, appreciated crew. But once you really see like, or it's so real to you how many people were out of work and how many people have had an experience through a conjoined, I mean, that's why community and stuff is so important. Right. Not that it's like bonded over trauma, but that everybody has experienced something life-changing. And so when you come back, you really can see the humanity in somebody differently. To be like, I went through something and so did you, and like I can really look at you and be like, wow, like you made it through, or you know, we're still standing, right? Like it's so that like camaraderie is like really, it's certainly really created a bond. Yeah, absolutely. Like none of us came back the same way. Yeah, like no, I don't think anyone could say they came back the same way. No, good or bad. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, girl. Viewing the I was just gonna say too, like the scheduling and stuff too, like just. It's just great, like people, because I look at like the news and how corporate jobs and people are still working remotely, like they refuse to go back in the office. Yeah. And that's not really a choice, but like what was negotiated, what wasn't negotiated, how we kind of just went straight back into the 8 shows, and how that really made people feel. Yeah, because that was not a soft launch. That was a very hard and fast. Yeah, because I think we have actually mentioned it before in another episode. We're in a capitalist society, honey. Yeah. And when we as humans learn that we can survive without the hustle and bustle of the 9 to 5, 7 or 6 days a week workload, the gates of heaven opened up, honey. We came up with a whole new perspective of life. What you're not going to do is break my back down. Right. No. Right. So yeah, I definitely think we all, artists, corporate, regular, 9 to 5 working people, we all came back with a greater sense of self-worth. And, I think it's going to be a shift in how we approach work going forward, because, the generations before us, our grandmas, our moms, they were taught to just work, to survive. And then my generation is kind of like, in the middle of that. Like, yes, we were taught to work hard, but now we also know how to do work-life balance. And what does that look like? Because it feels good to relax and to, pour into your family, because we had all this time together. Right. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how work looks in the next 5 or 10 years. Yeah. Because we ain't having now it the our generation. Yeah, that, and then now our generation is like, you don't give me what I need, I'm quitting. Hi. I'm walking out today. So Thanks. It's like, oh, wow. And I'm going to go create my own. Right. So it's gonna be better than yours, and I'm going to do like 8 different things, and I'm just going to figure it out. So it's kind of crazy. I think that, there needs to be balance, and, but it is, and it happens all the time. I think people, it's easy to look at a certain generation or a certain, like, us to them or them to us or whatever, and be like, well, y'all just don't do this, or y'all never, but it's like every generation has gone through the shift. So it's nothing new. Nope. And we'll be figuring it out, because it's our problem now. So if we made the bed, we're going to have to line it or figure out something. So it's going to be when it needs to be. And don't nobody need to be worried about it. But that's right. So. But hey, we here. Yeah. We are what was it, 3 years out? Okay, so we are still in a pandemic. And that makes me, is there going to be like an official declaration of the end of the pandemic? I know. Are we technically still in it? We're technically still in it. No one said we're not.
Yeah.
They haven't. Yeah, I guess nobody
No
has
one
said
has
like
declared.
COVID pandemic has ended.
Okay. On May 11th, 2023, the federal public health emergency declares an end, which means there will be changes to all the ways people operate with COVID-19 related things, care, testing, all those things. So, child, they declared
So it is
on May
over.
11th.
What is that like?
They
So
didn't
that's
cover.
3. Yeah, so that's almost 3 years on the dot.
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
No, because it was declared in March.
March, sorry. Yeah, March, not May.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here I'm sitting here doing all that big talk. Well, I ain't
They
gonna be
didn't
over
even
till
say
it's
it's
over.
not even over.
Girl, I done missed the day. So it's over. All right, great.
Nice. So yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
But, yeah. But things have definitely moved leaps and bounds. Like it's really beautiful. And it's great like to experience the city too. Cause I think even in that first episode when we were talking and I was talking about the shift and stuff, it's like that was a big factor too, whether I feel like I realized it or not, was that like we weren't fully shifted back or we were still in that kind of in between space.
Yeah.
So to say like I wasn't really fully experiencing the city and stuff, I think that was largely in part to the fact that everything was kind of just shifting back.
Yeah.
Even though it felt like to me like, well, we outside because I moved and now I'm here and I'm ready. Like it's like now or summer of kind of last year into this year and within this past year things have really opened up and blossomed again. So I think that's really exciting.
Yeah.
So
there have been some really wonderful things that have come out of this shutdown.
Yeah.
Now that I'm in a house, I'm like, okay, well, we ready now for another.
Right.
I got a yard.
So
the way we're about to lose our minds in that little cubicle of an apartment.
And where was that? In Brooklyn?
It was in Brooklyn. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But we were in an apartment building with like, what was it like? Had to been like over like 20 units maybe. Wow. I don't know. We were stacked up and closed like in. And I was pregnant and in my feelings.
Gosh. No,
but crazy. Wow, what an experience. That's crazy. Like it's historical. Like, we're gonna go down in history. Those masks are gonna go down in history. That's what I was telling my husband too. He's a photographer. I was like, babe, you need to capture some of these images. Capture Times Square empty. Capture people with these masks on. Capture these people out here protesting. The Black Lives Matter. Murals on the ground.
Too.
Yeah,
I was doing a lot of that when
we
I was
were
at
doing
home
the most
marching in mass. It was a hot middle of the summer. We out there marching, and it was a lot. It was a lot all at once.
We've been doing a lot. Yeah. So, but we survived. We here. I think it's game time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Ooh, game time. Game time. All right, you want to go? Did I go first last time?
Wait, what's the genre? Or is it any?
It's any.
No genre. Oh, right. Oh, gosh.
I think you had me go first last time.
No.
Did you?
I went first.
I don't remember. Okay, I'll go first.
Okay.
All right. I got to look up the lyrics because love songs, love music, love to sing it. But I don't be knowing the lyrics.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even know we made this a game because low key.
I know. I feel like maybe the picking was better. But we're experimenting. It's the beginning. So
we'll play other games too. All right, here we go. You're the coffee that I need in the morning. You're the sunshine in the rain when it's pouring. Hey! Won't you give yourself to me? Give it all. I just want to see.
This one I know. Daniel Caesar, right?
Yeah, and?
Oh my God.
Female artist. 10, 9.
It's not Caliucci.
No.
No, what is it?
Come on. It's an identity.
Sabrina? Oh, no.
She's an identity.
She's an identity. What? Who is the song with?
You know the title? I don't know.
Best part.
Yes.
Her. It's her.
Yeah.
Oh
Best part by her.
He has I haven't listened to his music in a minute, but that song was popular. Like that song, everybody was like, "This is gonna be my wedding song."
It was
like,
my wedding song.
I
walked down the aisle to it, and it was so beautiful because my brother played the violin, so he played it on his violin. Oh my God, it was so magical.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it was sweet.
I like that too because I think about that a lot, and I'm like, my wedding song, like, I want it to be a song that's like gender neutral, that I can be like thinking about you and like you can be thinking about me, and the words are like go over, they span both. So not like, hey girl, like I don't want it to be like talking about, like, don't just make it about me, like this is about us. I don't want it to
I used to love Genuine coming up, and I used to always say, oh well, my wedding song's gonna be Stingy. And I'm like,
what?
I'm gonna get even the words to this song. Y'all look up "Stingy" by Genuine and see if it was even appropriate to have as a wedding
For a
song.
wedding song.
I know it was
No
like
way.
love inspired, but it was probably freaky and
Yeah.
inappropriate.
Stingy. What did your dance? Oh, stingy by
Is it
Genuine.
stingy? I think it was meaning like I was stingy with my feelings and you're teaching me how to love.
how to-
Something real
yeah.
masculine
Yeah.
and selfish.
And the way he's been acting up, that would be a hot topic.
Girl, we don't. I don't want to talk about it anymore because the way he fell off that stage.
Oh my gosh.
And the man that was like doing the sign language was like, ew, get off of
I
me.
know. He's been
wilding.
Yeah, really living.
Ooh,
life.
he is really being disgracefully.
Oh, I have one on my end.
Okay.
This is easy. Did I sing this last week? No, I don't know what I did. Okay. Soon as I
Get home, I'll make it up to you. Baby, I'll do what I gotta do. Hey, come on.
Name.
Soon as
Okay.
Faith Evans. Soon as I get home.
Yes.
Yes.
Ding, ding, ding.
You better. I love it.
Good. Yeah.
Okay, that was quick
That's
and
a good.
easy.
Yeah,
Oh,
those,
we did
those
that
are
one.
classics.
Yeah, that was a
but-
classic. That was a
No, because
classic.
last week was that gospel song. What was it? And you didn't know. It was
Girl,
like
I
Kirk
really
Franklin. I
revealed
was
that
like,
I'm a heathen
Yeah.
after all. I was like, Kirk, I don't even know who the person was.
Oh my god.
I swear I went to church, y'all. I swear
Yeah.
I love the Lord.
We believe you. Okay.
All right, that was fun.
Yeah. And speaking of gospel, let's do our tithes and offerings.
Tithes and offerings, tithes and offerings. Okay, so my offering is a little lame today.
Don't
But
say
I mean, it's helpful. So
Yeah.
it's not meaningful. It's not impactful, but it's helpful.
We'll be the judge.
Okay,
Just
let me start. All right, so in the light of talking about how, you really delved into cooking, and I delved into cooking too during the pandemic shutdown. So now my mind is on food.
Mm.
So I recently learned, and I think a lot of people are getting this knowledge from TikTok too. Like that's actually a wonderful thing about TikTok because they teach you all these like house hacks
Yep.
and all this stuff. So one particular one I picked up maybe a few months ago now. A way to preserve your avocados is to put it in. So put some cold water in a jar or a bowl or whatever. Put your avocados in the jar of water, put it in the refrigerator, and it preserves the avocados for like a week or two. Like it gives you a long amount
You have
of time.
to put a cover on it or no?
No, you don't have to put a cover on it.
Wow.
You just stick it in there because avocados, they brown very easily. So I did like a little test. So I had an avocado that I left sitting like maybe a day or two. It browned. Well, opposed to the one that I put in the refrigerator in the water, it was still as beautifully green as the first day when I bought it. So,
Wow.
yeah. So that was one way to preserve an avocado. Well,
Yeah.
one little helpful tip.
Yeah.
The other tip, since it is summertime, I got my husband a grill for Father's Day. So we call ourselves trying to grill or whatever. And, I know some people out there who love to grill. One way to clean the grill is to take an onion and to like rub it up against the grill and like that. So I looked it up. It says the onions are acidic and they'll help pick up the grease that's left behind, and as well will pick up the small specks of dirt in the carbon. So
that's true.
yeah.
Also,
So
because
while
it
it's
has
still
water.
hot.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
like sizzle it off.
Right.
That's like something I actually heard that this was on TikTok too.
Okay.
She was like squeeze lemon juice in a bowl and then heat it up in the microwave for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, that cleans the microwave.
And it makes your house smell so good,
Yeah.
like lemony fresh, and like it's not a whole
Yeah.
bunch of chemicals and stuff, and it
Yeah.
cleans it, and you can just wipe the stuff off so easy.
Raw
if there's
lemon is
stuff.
a huge cleaning agent. You can
Yeah.
even just rub it right on your countertops.
Like,
and
yeah.
it also has like a brightening effect to it too. So yeah.
Yeah.
So little things around the house, keep yourself
hacks.
clean.
Yeah, those are good because that's little stuff I need to know. Like being in an apartment and stuff. The first time it's kind of like, what do I do? What do I like? You
I
never really
know.
think until you get your own, and you're like, how am I supposed to clean?
You
up?
know,
like
you make the mess and it's like, well, how am I cleaning this? Because it
Right.
is really hard. And then you
Right.
have stuff like Easy Off, but those chemicals are so strong.
yeah.
Jesus,
yeah,
they'll
you
kill
gotta
you.
find some better
Yeah,
alternatives.
yeah,
Okay, that's
more
good
clean
to know.
alternatives. So, you're welcome.
Nice.
All right, what's your offering?
My offering is okay. I was reading the Bible this morning.
Okay.
And I was looking at some stuff in like Matthew, and it started talking about that story about the waves and the water and how Jesus, was like, you have so little faith. But I was thinking about it, and I was like looking at the annotation, and I was like, where else? This story is somewhere else in the Bible. Like, it's also in Mark and it's also in Luke.
Okay.
And I started thinking about that, and like, I was like, why are there different, like, why is the same story told in different books of the Bible? Like, I don't really understand that. So I went back, because the main, I don't know what they're called technically, but like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are like the three in order or whatever. I mean, four that are chronological, and they are like some of the most referenced and stuff.
Right.
And so I was looking it up, and I was like, why are some of the stories told the same, just like kind of differently, or sometimes they're not even worded differently. It's just like, and so they said that, I was looking it up and I was reading it, and it was an article was saying that it has to do with the authors of the book. So all those were, I mean, the disciples like witnessed the same thing. Okay. So it was saying that it's different people's accounts of it and the way that they saw it, and also different interpretations, which I think about a lot. Yeah, because I was like, okay, and it depends on who they were speaking to, because if you're trying to break something down, like how you use a metaphor, but you can use it in different ways to teach a different, like to a child versus like another adult, you might be saying the same thing, but you don't have to like dumb it down as much, or you might be trying to get a different lesson out of it for one person than the other. Right. And I thought that was really cool, because I like study the Bible for real life application, but also sometimes I just have like logical questions about the Bible, and I'm like, what does this mean? Like, why is all this stuff the same? Like, y'all already talked about this 2 or 3 times. Like, why are we reading it again? And it's like just a watered down version. So I was just looking that up, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
like,
it's cool. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I had never really thought about that.
Yeah, you got to include all the different perspectives.
Yeah, so when you're reading it, if you read it or you see like a little detail that's different or something, then that's fine.
You said, if y'all talk about that water one more time.
I was like, I've already read this story. Like, why is this in here again? So yeah, that was cool. Yay. Study time, but
yeah. Amazing.
Right. This was great. This was a good talk.
This was a good talk, and I think
insightful for anybody wondering like about Broadway, or about just like the shifts in the industry. Like, you gotta be prepared for anything, and like and everything, because even recently there's been talks about strike and the things that are happening with WGA and SAG, and so it's just, you really have to be willing, like, not just for the inconsistencies in work, but just with the industry as a whole, and being an artist, that it's not as concrete as another but job.
The one thing that I recognize, the conversations surrounding like the potential of being out of work now versus probably pre-pandemic, a lot of people, they have a lot more resilience. They understand they're worth a lot more now. They understand they will survive, because they've survived something much greater and worse. So, I mean, to have a strike means that someone's rights are being diminished. So that is not a good thing. And it's not just free time out of work, but to see that people are not freaking out at the thought of not being worked. They can divorce from the idea of working every single day is what I walked away with. Like, oh, okay, so we are like new people.
Right. Our identities are not just in our jobs.
Not tied to our job.
And also, that's one thing I was thinking about too with the pandemic, is like, not only did people explore new things, but they were kind of forced to learn another side of the game, or like, pick up photography if you couldn't sing professionally and stuff, or, learning.
You had to reinvent yourself.
Yeah. Like you, even with the YouTube channel. And like, that was another way, you can have or know about multiple facets or multiple different things. Exactly. Which I think is so cool, and why the arts are so necessary.
Right. So yeah, man, we are strong, honey. We are creative. We are reinventors. And these strikes are happening probably because people, we know our rights now. We know our worth. And we're willing to fight for those things, because I guess before there was this notion that you can't fight against the big man. But you can. We're all human beings, and we all deserve human rights. Right. So, I actually applaud everyone who's striking. If we find ourselves, in the middle of that, then we know what to do. Yeah. We are survivors. Yeah. So
I'm a survivor.
Come on, we're not gonna give up.
Right.
All right, y'all. Thank you for joining us. Definitely subscribe so you can get the next episode, because we're talking some good stuff over here.
And we're gonna have some guests coming up.
We're gonna have some great minds on board to just share their experiences and their expertise. So you don't want to miss that.
It's exciting.
All right, I'm India.
And I'm Sidney.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Social Cues is hosted by India Brown and Sydney Wilson. Produced by Dale Brown, and music by Isaiah Young.
Find us on social media at SocialQ2023 on Instagram and SocialQs2023 on TikTok.
Don't forget to subscribe to our page and follow us for notifications of new episodes.
Until next time.